Hello, friends. It's with a true sense of excitement that I have connecting with you here to share this good news. I feel this witness is timely, and I've been working tirelessly on it to the best of my ability, so please bear with me. I also needed to curate this for the other reasons, which I won't go into now, but I'm trusting that what will be shared will be meaningful and impactful for all who will hear it. This is the introduction to the topic, the Garden of Eden and the 7 churches of Revelation, with a highlight on Ephesus, the first church named. It is part 5 of what I have been previously posting on another platform, and I will be reviewing those previous segments after completion of this one. For all intents and purposes, this will be like a movie that gives you the ending scene before it switches to the opening one. A little while back, I had begun retrieving my data from the X-Twitter platform manually, seeing I wished to compile the information into a format for wider circulation at some point. I couldn't see the photos I had uploaded with my posts, so I started taking screenshots of a few topics that were fresh in my mind that I could search for as I worked my way through removing them. The help center from the start had been a loop I couldn't get through to, so it was with dismay that I saw when I returned after a prolonged interval because of situations that arose that I was no longer able to log into my account. Part of the authentication required for me to gain access to my page had been updated, presenting a puzzle to be solved that would likely have been more fun for a hacker attempting to get at my data than it was for me actually trying to retrieve it. What I also discovered shortly thereafter, to my shock and dismay, was that my cloud files for certain years were also missing, which looked like all my work had gone down the drain. So what do the two subjects highlighted possibly have in common, and why should they matter to us here in the 21st century when many would say it's the stuff that fairy tales are made of? We're getting to it. Figuring I should indeed be posting my content in videos, as so many have been doing, I headed over to YouTube. This was not the idea that had first occurred to me when I considered how best to package my insights, sadly enough. But again, to my compounded horror and disbelief, someone was already using some of my intellectual property. It's not mere coincidence that another person would conceive the same stuff that you did after you made it public without being able to show conclusively how they arrived at their own deductions. No one who had spoken on the topic before regarding the Garden of Eden and its location had come up with a similar conclusion as mine. I had performed a search, and the general idea was that it was located in the south near the Persian Gulf. Furthermore, prior to that, the Garden of Eden had either been a mystery or a myth, as few believed it could indeed be a real place. Regardless, needless to say, my unique perspective being hijacked by someone with them capitalizing on it was extremely unsettling, and it took a little while for me to process why everything seemed to be going off the rails. Thank God, however, for those screenshots, as in hindsight, I would have truly been the proverbial fish out of water without those pictures to help me needing to start everything over again from scratch. I had been posting on X-Twitter telling why the earthquake at the Turkey-Syria border occurred and addressing the Garden of Eden's correlation to the 7 churches of Asia Minor in the book of Revelation. Asia Minor, or Anatolia, is now the modern-day country of Turkey, and diving into the early New Testament church activity in that location, seen throughout the entire book of the Acts of the Apostles, we get a profound sense of the interconnected dynamic between all of the parts. The Garden of Eden topic was reignited on the X-Twitter platform when I innocently commented on a Black Adam tweet, not being aware that he was a character played by actor Dwayne Johnson. As the thread continued, someone from Turkey messaged me asking which Garden of Eden I was referring to, and I answered back that it was the one in the Bible. To me, that was the only Garden of Eden there was. He responded that he knew its location and that it was at the Turkey-Syria border, that he was going there to bless the people. So taking it all in, it seemed almost surreal, and I asked him to update me with any additional information and if he was successful, but I didn't get another reply. That was in September 2022, and in early February 2023, two earthquakes of 7+ magnitude struck at the Turkey-Syria border a few hours apart. They were recorded as the largest there since 1939 and felt as far away as the Black Sea coast. What a coincidence. With more than 30,000 aftershocks, we are told, in the 3 months that followed. In the scriptures, we see that angelic presence is generally associated or accompanied by earthquake activity. And therefore, it makes absolute sense regarding what took place at the Turkey-Syria border, which is that the angels that were placed to guard the area haven't left their post. The Bible tells us in Genesis 3:22-24, "And the Lord God said, Behold, the man has become as one of us to know good and evil. And now lest he put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life, and eat and live forever. Therefore the Lord God sent him forth from the Garden of Eden to till the ground from which he was taken. So he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of the Garden of Eden cherubims and a flaming sword, which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life." So, my dear people, the two quakes that registered at the same spot in that corner of the globe that day were the cherubims. That location is rightfully still sacred in God's eyes, and we see why he had barred entry from it in the first place, which obviously has not been altered with time. The Bible reminds us God is eternal and that he changes not. Therefore, everything he speaks is perpetual. Those grounds had formed the foundation on which the New Testament church was laid in the 1st century AD, which promise we saw verbalized back in Eden as the Lord spoke to Adam and Eve about the Messiah Redeemer, his own son Jesus Christ. To understand that where the couple had once stood became the exact location where centuries after many of the founding disciples who carried the gospel were in fact born tells us this motif was not happenstance. We know it was the Almighty One identified in the Bible who laid claim to creating the world and its inhabitants. We also know his commandments call for humankind to worship and give that rightful honor to him and him alone because of that entitlement. He doesn't make excuse for himself, but lets us know unequivocally that he is jealous for his own name's sake. The prophet Jeremiah in chapter 46 verse 10 therefore informs us, "For this is the day of the Lord God of hosts, a day of vengeance, that he may avenge him of his adversaries. And the sword shall devour, and it shall be satiate and made drunk with their blood. For the Lord God of hosts hath a sacrifice in the north country by the river Euphrates." The sword the angels carry. I don't know if you are able to see this, but north country by the river Euphrates is rather explicit, even specific, and gives us insight into God's thoughts surrounding this and anything related. He is no respecter of persons, and we know how he views competition. What is also significant and not surprising is that an ancient Bible was recovered there in Turkey. We could only imagine, if it were possible, the DNA evidence generated from fingerprints that would be able to tell us which early believer that sacred text belonged to, or who would have handled it. If we had access to such a database, that is. I will be revisiting the evidence to show why the ancient Bible could have been found there. Not by chance, the chasm exposed by the earthquakes is in actuality one of those ancient rivers the Bible references in describing the location of the Garden of Eden. I have provided a link to one source's YouTube compilation which contains some incredible footage. The entire land, including what stretches further eastward, possibly covering some of northern Syria and Iraq, would constitute Eden in its entirety. In uprooting the once hidden deep river trenches, the angels have sealed off entry now to the garden, ensuring that the boundaries of demarcation to that prohibited spot would have an irreversible, impassable access until all is made new. Even though the globe has experienced geological phenomena over the centuries, the earth has remained where it has always stood when it was first planted. Accordingly, the Garden of Eden, with its sacred tree of life, will again bloom for humanity's benefit. But for now, God does not intend for unrepentant sinners to perchance partake of its healing, whether